Hey, what's going on everybody? It's Joseph from Screenbite, and today we're going to be checking out a monitor. This is the Samsung CF791, and it is the latest monitor to be on my desk. I got rid of my dual monitor setup for one big ultra wide, and I gotta say, I'm really liking the change. But let's dive into some of the stuff I like about it, starting with the design. As you can see, this is an ultra-wide monitor, which means it has an aspect ratio of 21:9, which definitely takes some getting used to, especially because of the fact that most of the content that you consume online is still in a 16:9 aspect ratio. But that being said, one thing I want to mention is that all future videos, including this one, are going to be shot in a 18:9 or 21:9 aspect ratio to try to push ourselves into the future. But getting back to the monitor, as you can see, it is really nice. It doesn't scream gamer at you, which is something that I truly love, and it is very minimal. The bezels are small, it has a nice silver and white design to it, and it fits really well in a professional environment, which was kind of the vibe that I was going for. Also on the back, you have two USB ports, which can be used as a pass-through, and on the connection side of things, you have two HDMI as well as DisplayPort on board with this monitor. Speaking a little bit more about that display, it's a 34-inch across the diagonal monitor, and it is a 3440 by 1440p display. So it's not quite UHD and it's not quite 1440p. It's kind of between the middle, which is good because when your graphics card prices are so high and you're running off a GTX 980, when you're trying to play a game, it's not very intensive on your graphics card or your rig, which I love. Now, speaking a little bit more into that display technology, this is a quantum dot display, which basically just means that they use a different type of blue LED, which is supposed to be more efficient and better on your eyes, as well as it's supposed to produce better contrast and color accuracy. Now, I don't have all the fancy equipment that people use to test this stuff, but I can tell you that it is factory calibrated out of the factory, which is nice, and to my eye, in an unscientific approach, it looks really good. I don't mind editing videos or photos on this display, and I really do like the way the colors look. I believe it's something like 120% of the sRGB spectrum, which is a little bit beyond that 100% limit, but it's nothing that's extremely noticeable. If anything, I kind of like the way it pops. I do want to mention this has a 100 Hz refresh rate, which means it's actually pretty darn good for gaming, and it does support AMD FreeSync. However, it does not support G-Sync, so if you're on NVIDIA's side of the field, it's not going to be the best option for you if you're looking for something with that feature built in. One final thing that is worth mentioning before we jump into gaming performance is the fact that this is an 8-bit panel and not a 10-bit panel. So for those super professional people out there who need the most optimal display possible, this might not be the best monitor for you, but for someone who is doing YouTube videos and light commercial work on the side, you really can't go wrong with this monitor. Alright, now moving on to gaming performance. Now, as I mentioned earlier, this is a WQHD panel, which means you are pushing past the boundaries of 1440p, as well as you're pushing past the boundaries of 1080p. So what this means is that you are going to need a little bit of a beefy rig in order to run this. Not quite as much as you would need for a standard 4K display, but you are going to need something beefy. For example, right now, as I mentioned before, I'm currently running on a GTX 980, and it can handle most games on high or ultra high. But if you're running into something like one of the newer games out there, like Far Cry 5, or anything that's really graphically intensive on your computer, you are going to want something a little bit more powerful. I would recommend at least a GTX 1070, if you can find them. Now, from gaming performance in general, I actually really love this monitor. Like, I can't describe to you how much I really love this monitor. It wraps around my vision with a 1500R curve, and it's just very immersive. I feel like I have a lot more to my field of view when looking left and right, and it's just a really wonderful poppy colors, and I love it. I just love it. As well as it does meet a lot of the compromises that I was looking for when purchasing a monitor. I didn't want to go 144 Hz or higher because unless you want to pay a lot of money, all of those monitors are TN panels, which are absolutely terrible when it comes to viewing angles as well as color accuracy for video editing and stuff like that. So this kind of gives me that medium between an IPS display and a TN panel. Now, it does have a 4 millisecond response time, so it's not as fast as some of your TN panels out there, but it's very comparable, and for me at least, it's minimal when I'm gaming. And like I said, I was looking for something a little bit more professional for my video editing as well as my YouTube work and stuff like that. And for those of you who are super concerned with it only being 100 Hertz, as someone who's played on a 144 Hz monitor, I have to say, it's not that big of a difference. Now, it is noticeable, yes, but it's still a lot smoother than 60 FPS, and I have to say, it's definitely a good compromise if you're looking for something a little bit more professional. Now, before I move on to price, I do have to mention that not all is wonderful in monitor land here. And even though it is a VA panel, it does have some pretty terrible viewing angles. If you're viewing at anything more than like a 20-degree angle, you are going to find that it does have a lot of color shifting, as well as you do lose a lot of that brightness. But as long as you're sitting in a normal position and you're pretty much staring at it head on, it's not too big of a deal. Finally, let's go ahead and talk about price. It's expensive. I'm not gonna lie to you, it's very, very expensive. I believe it's still currently $700 to $750 on Amazon. I got super lucky and I was able to pick it up at my local Micro Center for $600. So if you can find a deal like that, I would highly recommend jumping on that because it's so worth it. But if you don't mind paying full price, it's definitely worth it. It's ultra wide, which is fantastic. It has that wonderful quantum dot display technology. The color accuracy is really, really nice. It has a pretty decent refresh rate at 100 Hertz. And just all in all, it looks really, really good on a desk. So if you're in the market for it, I'll definitely leave a link in the description down below for you guys to check it out if you're interested in buying it. But that's going to go ahead and do it for this video, guys. So thank you once again for watching. As always, if you liked it, make sure to show it by hitting that like button down below. It really helps me out. As well as if you have any questions about what we talked about today, feel free to ask it in the comments section. You could also hit me up on Twitter to ask any questions as well. Also, if you're new to the channel and you like the content, feel free to subscribe. But until next time, I will see you guys in the next video. Bye. What are you doing, princess? What are you doing?